Ronal Shah is fully dedicated to powering traders forward to achieving their ambitious goals. He's been coaching elite traders for more than a decade, and prior to coaching, Ronal was head of equity derivatives trading at a large structuring desk. And in his book, The Trader's Path to Inner Wisdom, he offers a powerful combination of spiritual disciplines and trading wisdom. And he's on the line with us here just now. How are you doing today?
Yeah, very good, Toby. How are you today?
Excellent, thanks. So in your book, The Trader's Path to Inner Wisdom, what are the kind of things that we learn from it?
The main realization, which is the realization I made, was that in the process of becoming a better trader, when it wants to earn more money, to be more stable, more safe, more secure, you can actually get to a point where you're starting to develop your inner life, your inner world, to such an extent that it actually becomes almost like a spiritual journey. In fact, not almost, like exactly a spiritual journey. There comes a point where the spiritual growth that you are experiencing by becoming a better trader actually means that you're actually going on a spiritual journey.
And what does that mean in terms of spiritual journey? I mean, does it feel like it's your destiny?
Yeah, I guess spiritual journey means different things to different people. So I should be more precise. So in Japanese Zen, there is an idea called satori. So this is like when you're meditating in this Japanese Zen kind of practice, this is the aim of your spiritual practice, is to get to a point of satori, which means that you strip past all your what they call ego, all your identity, and you just have this pure connection to the universe. And that's what I particularly mean. And most kind of spiritual traditions have something similar. They might use different wording and different even some of the religions that they're kind of more spiritual, mystical side will have something equivalent. So that's the idea that there is kind of this what we call ultimate reality out there, and we are part of it. And as we get past, the sort of the ups and downs, the sea of emotions and temptations of this world, we actually get to a point where we can experience this directly, and it's a very blissful place. So that's all kind of well and good and nice kind of spiritual stuff. But for a trader, that's often a world away. That's like okay, that's very nice for you, kind of hippies over there, but that's not really relevant to me. I want to make a lot of money over here.
Yeah.
And that was really the life I had for many years. I've had this spiritual side. And as you mentioned in the intro, I was a trader. I was leading a load of traders. And initially, those two worlds were very separate indeed. Like you would not talk about one and the other. And if you did, the traders would go, as I said, what a clueless hippie, you don't even know what life's about.
Yeah.
And then the spiritual guys would go, oh, what a materialistic, ego-driven person, you don't even know what life's about. So they would have very different views. And over the course of my life, and in particular working with others, with traders, I find that these could converge.
How come they can converge now? What's changed, if anything?
Yeah, so let's go to the trading side. So when you're a trader, and I'm sure the traders who are listening to this will know this, that initially you've got to learn a lot of stuff, learn how trading works, how economics works, how finance works, market patterns work, whatever it is. And you do a lot of that, and that's great. You get better and better at trading. And then at a certain point, it becomes more about your psychology. Your psychology starts to become more the factor which is driving whether you're trading well or not. And so that's initially what I was focusing with my trader coaching was, this is the more advanced stuff. Let's move into the psychology. Let's move into how do you become a better trader and move past your emotions. So that's all well and good. But what I was finding is that the more advanced practices that we would use to get past the emotional blocks, the things that were getting in the way, and to do it in a healthy way, what we started finding is you would be moving, I'm going to give you an example in a minute because it'll make it clearer, but moving past your ego, moving past your fear, and in doing so, you would be actually doing almost the same as what a spiritual person would be doing when they're meditating. And although the initial impetus might be completely different, one's making money, one's seeking nirvana or whatever, they actually, in terms of practice, in terms of practical outcomes, you'd actually end up aiming in the same direction. So it was quite surprising to me to actually realize that there was this convergence.
Yeah.
I can give you a very small example, which might make it more concrete. So I have a client, let's call her Jo. And she was a good trader. She had a very clear way of trading. She knew what chart pattern she was looking for, and she would she was an expert in this, and she was pretty good. And what would happen is towards the end of the month, she would start to feel some fear, if she hasn't made enough money, she would start to do strange things and start seeing this pattern when it wasn't there. Her eyes, her brain would start creating pictures that were not there in the charts. And she started basically trading off the wrong pattern, losing money. And when she then looked back, she would go, why was I trading that? That was not my pattern. So we went into this, what's going on here? It turns out that if she's not making the appropriate level of money at the end of the month, there's a massive fear of failure that would start to come to her. So in my book, I talk about a 5-step process. We went through that and we found that there's this massive fear of failure. And we went through the process again, and we realized that the fear of failure was coming from something in her childhood. We did some work, cleared up the stuff that was going on in the childhood. And then she became a better trader. She didn't have this fear, so she could be nice and even and have her emotions nice and clear. But if you can imagine, if you get rid of your fear of failure, there's a lot that happens more beyond your trading. Your ability to deal with life, her relationship with her husband improved, her relationship with her family improved. She had just much more peace in her life. So although it was a trading problem, she actually created much more peace, much more spiritual kind of inner calm than she had before. So that's a concrete example there.
Yeah. So you mentioned the 5-step process there. What are the 5 steps to overcome this?
I'll say it quickly, and hopefully this will kind of make sense. Yeah. So the first one is pretty straightforward. It's actually to write out the problem. Just be very clear what the problem is. So I'm messing up my trades is not kind of writing out the problem. You want to be much more precise. So that in itself, very simple, but creates a lot of clarity for people. Sometimes that's enough. Second step is then to write down all your thoughts. What are your thoughts that are coming with this problem? And you write out absolutely everything, even if it seems irrelevant. So, my dog was barking. He made me mess up my trade. My husband had an argument with me last night. My wife is rearranging the things in the room while I'm trading. Anything that's relevant or not relevant, just write it down. All your thoughts. Third step is write down all your feelings that come from those thoughts. So are you angry? Are you frustrated? Are you happy? Are you bored? What are the feelings that come from that? So those are kind of, they're not rocket science, but they're kind of just mapping things out. The fourth step is a little bit trickier. And this one, you write out your what we call definitions. So you begin with a sentence, for example, I am, and in the context of this trade that you've messed up, I am what? So I'm a loser, I'm a failure, I'm an idiot. You do the same with the sentence, other traders are. So other traders are what? So they're better than me, they're cleverer, they're cheats, they're whatever it is that comes up. And then the final one, the market is, and what is it that you think about the market? The market is against me, the market is too big for me, whatever it is that comes up. And you just, again, write out all this stuff. So what you're doing here over those first 4 questions is creating a structured way of pulling out all your thoughts, your conscious and your unconscious thoughts that related to this trade. And then the 5th step, which is kind of the magic step, is you look all over this and you just look at it for maybe a few seconds, maybe a few minutes. And the question to have in the back of your head is, what's the assumption I have here? And something will pop out. At some point, something will pop out. So, for this lady, I cannot fail. That was her assumption there. So this sort of process is very structured. It's good to kind of do it with a friend or do it with a trader or do it with a coach or do it with whoever the first couple of times so you get a good feel for how it actually works. And then once you've done it a couple of times with someone else, you can do it on yourself or continue to do it with a partner.
And in trading, there's sometimes a fear of missing out.
Yeah.
And that kind of exists for a lot of people these days, whether that's in business or outside business, right?
Indeed. In FOMO, fear of missing out is a massive one in trading, in many other areas. And sort of the magic of this particular process is that although FOMO exists, the underlying cause for FOMO actually varies for various people. So this 5-step process, although it's designed for traders, it's quite useful for entrepreneurs, for people in general. And by going through it, you'll often find what is the actual true root cause of the problem. So If you're, for example, okay, I've got fear of missing out, you go through the process and you might find, oh, the reason I've got fear of missing out is because I'm actually fearful of rejection. If I don't participate in this, I might get rejected by my peers or someone. Someone else might be, I've got fear of rejection, so fear of missing out, because if I miss out, that means I'm a bad person. I should have done it, but actually I didn't do it, and that means that I'm bad. So people who have like a more of a worthiness issue. For other people, there could be something under there that of like, I'm incapable. So I've got to jump on the bandwagon with other people because I myself am incapable. So I've got to rely on other people's capabilities. So you've got one issue there, fear of missing out, FOMO, but the underlying cause can be quite different from person to person. So rather than having that one label, by going deep into what's specifically the issue for you, you get to open up and get some awareness about yourself and actually move past the FOMO and many other sort of hindrances to your trading or to your business.
In the example you gave earlier, the woman in question had a fear of failure, and I don't know if it's to the same extent, but I guess we all have a fear of failure in some way, don't we?
Indeed, I guess. So I said, with her, then we ran the process again. So having found the fear of failure, we ran the process again, and we found that it was related very specifically to some incidents with her mother when she was younger, and often it does come back to something in childhood. So I guess like with the FOMO example, with the fear of failure, running this process, running these 5 steps will allow you to see what is actually the meaning. Again, it could be that failure means that I'm going to get rejected. Failure means that I'm unsafe. Failure means that I'm incapable. Failure means that I'm not worthy. There might be something else underneath the fear of failure that is more specific why you're fearing failure. But failure is a strange one because failure is actually a very subjective thing because one person's failure is another person's like ultimate success. And failure is really dependent on where you set your standard. Obviously, there's some basics in life, food, shelter, that kind of stuff. But once you're beyond that, a lot of what we define as failure is actually dependent on what we have set as a standard for ourselves. And we're sort of going, for this sort of length of conversation is going a bit off tangent, but when you go into that, you can really find that actually we set these arbitrary standards. And once you see that, releasing that can actually be a very freeing process because you realize that actually you're not a failure. You just set a standard that is not appropriate for your particular goal. But then anyway, we're going to another direction now. But yeah, that's something there.
And your book is called The Trader's Path to Inner Wisdom. What made you want to write the book? Because you've done all sorts of coaching in the past. So what was it that made you want to have a book and have it written down?
Yeah, thank you. So really is to get a wider audience. One person or maybe a group of 10, 15 people at a time. I can even speak to an audience, of maybe a few hundred. But the idea of the book is to really allow anyone to access these ideas. I think for me, it was a kind of a magical insight. The moment when I realized that trading and spiritual path are able to be reinforcing each other to be absolutely in the right direction, in the same direction. For me, that was a magical moment. And I'm absolutely sure there are many other people who can benefit from having that realization and seeing how to make it practical. So to get to a wider audience, to get to many, many more people who could maybe not necessarily be able to be directly in touch with me, I wanted to be able to have this message as wide as possible.
Yeah. And was writing the book quite easy because it's a subject matter that you know all about?
Yeah, it's one of this is in myself, I had a bit of an inner journey when writing the book. Because indeed, I thought, I'm a trader, I'm a spiritual guy, I should knock it out in a weekend. But actually, I when I was writing it, I realized that for me to write this from an authentic place, from a place which is very important to me, but for a place where I really felt every word that I wrote, I needed to have this integration within me between the spiritual and the trading path at an appropriate level. So I ended up going on a bit of a personal journey in writing this book, not because the material was difficult, but because I wanted to make it as authentic as I could. And, putting things out there, putting them into the world, a whole lot of stuff came up in me. What if someone calls me crap? What if someone calls me an idiot? And all this kind of stuff. And then afterwards, I realized that I don't really care. I don't care. But this is a message that was so powerful for me. I want to share it with others. And yeah, it's not going to resonate with everyone. That's fine. But for those who does resonate with, there's magic possible. And I want people to feel that magic, that spark of connection that you can really feel when you go through this journey.
I suppose that's great to hear that you maybe do have a slight fear of failure, but actually you don't care because you're an expert on this. And actually, the people that are going to say it's rubbish maybe don't know as much about it as you do.
Yeah, indeed. And I mean, I was in the trading world, and anyone who's seen any Wall Street films will know that that people are not sort of trying to often move past their ego. Even if obviously there's always a Hollywood aspect to these films, but that's fine. So there's different ways of becoming a better trader. Some people do it by numbing their emotions. Some people do it by self-medication. Some people do it by just really suppressing. And some people do it in this very healthy way of going, okay, so what is the problem? Let me move past it. And so I have no problem with other people have different views. People even more experienced than me telling me, what do you know? You're an idiot, blah, blah. I actually have no problem with that, because that's my aim is not to convince them. My aim is to find the people who can benefit from this and to give them a path, give them something that can allow them to do the inner work, be peaceful on the inside, and actually be financially successful on the outside. And if you want that, this book is for you. If not, that's what's fine. I've got no problem with that.
Yeah. And do you have plans for even more books?
Yes, the next book I'm writing is a book called The Conscious Bank, a financial institution serving true wealth and transformative creations. So the idea is actually to say it's similar to the ideas in this book, but it's to take it to an even bigger scale. So saying that trading is one department of a bank or something that people do in their spare time, but a bank has many functions, and the whole bank can be structured in a way that can be conscious, that can be not only making lots of money for itself, for its shareholders, but actually also making the world a better place, allowing people to move into their own sort of higher self, their own spiritual journey, but to do it in a way that doesn't, how do you say, that is relatable to the world, that's realistic, that can be done. So that's the next book, and I'm sure the next time we speak we'll be probably talking about that book.
Yes, looking forward to it. And in the meantime, where are all the places that we're able to find your book, The Trader's Path to Inner Wisdom, and also all your coaching services and everything that you'd like us to find?
Yeah, cheers, Toby. So the easiest way to get all the links, which has my book, my coaching, my speaking, my LinkedIn, if you want to connect, is my website, ronalshah.com. If you want the book directly, currently it's on Amazon. So just putting it into the Amazon search will bring the book up. At the moment, with the book, I'm giving a free coaching session for whoever wants to have it if they bought the book. So that's the sort of added kind of advantage there. But if you want to get in contact with me, ronalshah.com is the easiest way.
Excellent. Well, many thanks for talking to us today. It's been great to have you on.
Yeah, thank you very much, Toby. Thank you. Take care.